All right, let's go and get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Data and AI Summit. Hopefully everyone is energized after a phenomenal morning of keynotes. A lot of big announcements that came out today. Obviously, I'm sure that throughout today and tomorrow, you'll get an opportunity to join other sessions that will help go into a further deep dive. But here, what we are today, are focused on 2 awesome stories that we're going to get to hear from. One from Westinghouse Electric, as well as Southern Company with us today. Just as a quick introduction, my name is Amar Sethi. I'm a business leader within our energy and utilities vertical. Get to live in the hottest state, I feel, in Texas. So we use a lot of energy. So I think a lot of what we talk about, for me personally, I tend to learn as well. For those that were able to join us at yesterday's Energy Forum, we actually had the opportunity for Westinghouse and Southern Company to join on a panel. And we got to hear their stories around how very quickly over the last few years they've managed to modernize and accelerate the AI adoption. But that is all done through the critical infrastructure that we see in the electric and utility space. Today, we're going to have each one of them walk us through in a deeper dive of some very high value, high impact use cases that they're delivering not just to their internal customers, but also as external customers as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for today, Lou Martinez.
Hi all, so I'm Lou Martinez. I'm the CDO of Westinghouse, and I'm also leading a great team of working in digital, in data, and actually the department that I run is called Digital and Innovation because of the huge impact that actually those technologies are getting. For those that you don't know what is Westinghouse and what we do in Westinghouse, just very fast, we provide services across the entire nuclear power life cycle. We have kind of 2 legs in what we do. We develop and deploy leading carbon-free technologies with a different series of technologies on the reactor side. So the AP1000 is the largest. It produced 1.1 gigawatts, and we're very proud actually to collaborate with Southern on this. They are the 2 newest reactors that has been built during the last 2 decades in the United States. And it has been a marvelous adventure to learn and rebuild the pipeline and the supply chain together in the United States, but also abroad. We are also developing a smaller version of the AP1000, it's an AP300, and giving the numbers so you can see more or less for those of you working in data and have those numbers on the data centers, so it's 300 megawatts. And we have also a very small micro reactor called Ibinchi. It's kind of more like a nuclear battery. It operates very different than obviously a nuclear reactor, and those produce 5 megawatts, and they are under development right now. And we also have an energy storage project under development as well in Westinghouse. But what is more important, and we're going to talk today, is about what is happening on the other side, how we are helping our customers to operate through all the plant life cycle. And here we are very agnostic. We serve any kind of technologies worldwide, so starting from the nuclear fuel, from the operations, maintenance, inspections, and of course all the LTO is what we call in our jargon long-term operations. What it means that a plant that has maybe 40 years of existence, now we can, thanks to the regulator, we can operate them until 80 years, some of them, and that means that there are a lot of opportunities. So don't look at those old ladies like, wow, all those plants are old and they are risk. Not at all, because actually during the outages, in partnership with all utilities customer, we maintain them. Sometimes we fully, from analogic work, we build them back into data, digitalizing, and we have a very strong business unit on I&C. Very strong. What I wanted to share here is that we have a lot of data in nuclear. That is one of the characteristics that probably you don't have in other industries. We track every single thing that is happening on our side, on our customer sides, since the beginning of the nuclear adventure. And that gives a huge advantage now that all these tools on the AI side are starting to be ready to actually deploy. But the rise of also AI is accelerating the deployment of high-performance accelerated services that they need a lot of power density on the data centers. And we need a bit everything. Sometimes they need very big power on those data centers. Sometimes they're going to do more edge computing, and they need something that is much more smaller. That's why nuclear large reactor is smaller or micro. They will have a call into facilitating this energy transition. The data that you are seeing on the graph, they are coming from the IEA, and you see that according to the International Energy Agency, we have a consumption when you compare 2025 to 2015 that is increasing 10%, double, triple. So that makes that we need actually a lot of energy as we are developing more these technologies. There is also the manufacturing side. The more we're going to reindustrialize areas, it means that all that industry also needs that. So we are talking the levels of gigawatts that they are going to need to be built in different areas of the world, not only in the United States. And this is where we are seeing on the next one. Let me click. No. Well, I will do it manually. It seems it doesn't want to. It's blocked. Sorry about it. Manually it works. There. Well, I will go with the manual old-fashioned. It always strikes me this when we talk about data and AI, and we're going to do all these amazing things, and then simple things that put in the PowerPoint and just clicking. There is. I'm sure all of you have been in that situation. Whoa, I don't have the right wire, and I don't have the USB, or I don't have this. So guys, we also need to work on the software and the infrastructure around it. What we're seeing here actually in this chart is the sensitive scenarios in the chart. It gives the possible future of electricity demand. And electricity demand, as we have been discussing on the session yesterday, is just a tiny bit of it when we talk about energy. One thing that is very amazing about nuclear, beyond that doesn't produce CO2, is that we produce heat a lot. So we can also have many other applications beyond electricity. But you are seeing here what are actually the demands that we are asking and how it is growing. We are talking, depending on the studies, a growth between the lowest scenarios, 20-15%, that goes up to 28%. For those of you that has been following the COP, there has been 31 countries that they have signed up commitment to triple the level of nuclear in the energy system. And why so important? It means that without data, I don't think we're going to be able actually to deliver all those gigawatts, and how we are going to maintain the current plants at the same time delivering and maybe even doing power upgrades, producing more with the same assets. And that's why AI is starting to have a strategic role into what we are doing. And just some figures from different reports. It is what nuclear actually can do for AI in the same time as AI is helping us actually to deliver on this. But the demand on the nuclear for AI by 2030 is multiplied by 8 or triple the capacity on the nuclear worldwide. 50% of the power consumption in the US will probably be by 2030 consumed by data centers. But again, we still have the manufacturing, the chemicals, the paper, or houses, or EVs that needs also to have that power. What it means that we will need to have a global demand of 945 terabytes hour. That is huge compared to what we are able to operate right now. So what AI is doing for us in Westinghouse to help delivery into that strategy and that market need that I need. So Westinghouse has reimagined the nuclear industry, developing a nuclear-specific AI. Why nuclear-specific AI? As you can imagine, in nuclear, we cannot use open source AI to do what we do. We cannot we need to track all the data. We need to be compliant with multiple regulators worldwide. In the US is the US NRC, but we have the same in the other countries. We also have export control data, so that means that we need to be compliant with regulations at the DOE level, at the DOD level, would complexify this. So that's why we launched this, because we have a lot of data. We have 70 plus years of data in nuclear engineers. So we partner with Databricks to create a unified platform that allow us to stop all those silos that we were having and be able to actually enhance our engineers so they can make a better feedback or a better support to our customers, but internally or externally. One of the big things and some of the use cases that you are seeing up is that we need a lot of years and it costs a lot to license, not new reactors only, but even when we are working with our utilities, when we make a modification during an outage, you need to go also to the regulator and say, hey, I'm shifting this. So AI, how is helping us? Simply getting access to the information. If you Google Adams is a database that is public. It's public by the NRC, but it's a database, I will say, probably 80s on the software side. It's very difficult to find the information there. Thanks to AI, in a language natural way of interacting, our engineers with our customers, they can actually understand and find exactly what they need to answer to it. And that is creating a lot of benefits in how we are interacting and including AI. There is also a thing, I mean, when you see the growth of nuclear, it is the workforce. Usually I have this question, who's going to do all that? Who's going to operate the reactors? Who's going to build the new ones? Who's going to do the design? There are not enough engineers to do and technicians to do all that. So what we are trying to see on the workforce, how we are enhancing AI in the processes that we do so we can do more with less and amplify our engineers and empower them with AI. It's not taking their jobs. That is not feasible. There is always in nuclear, when we use AI, an engineer that makes the decision and the human decision and has the responsibility of the study they are doing or whatever. So one thing I'm going to show here, this is a cool how we are using it. So this is based, we have do machine learning utilizing Databricks. So one thing that we work in nuclear when we're working with our customers is one thing that we call DMB, is the departure from on nuclear boiling, safety limits. It's a lot of data that we need to analyze that before it was done with spreadsheets and whiteboards. And what you are seeing here, it is a better understanding actually on how that safety model works for this fuel. It creates power generation and enhances the performance actually of the fuel. And you see sometimes machine learning is already a huge advantage in the analysis of these things. So this is particularly, this case is for what we call a PWR, a pressurized water reactor. And this is how we are utilizing on the fuel design. So most of the things that we do in nuclear is pretty boring, to be honest, because most of the time we do inspections and we analyze things, but the 20% that things are more intense, you need to be ready with your data so you can reinteract and include it very nicely. So these are the kind of tools that helps actually the engineers to understand better what are a safety margin and how actually we can do it. And all this we've been working hand by hand with the nuclear regulator and has allowed us actually to utilize these kind of tools. It's all very regulated. The last example I would like to use, so we created this nuclear-specific AI. We have called it HiVE. It's virtually a platform based with different bricks from Databricks, and some of them that our engineers, they have developed themselves, especially for the safety and the security. And then we have developed on top of it, utilizing Mosaic from Databricks, and LLM system is called Bertha. Why Bertha? Because just for the females in the room, Bertha Loms was, I'm sure you know, was the first female mechanical engineer working in Westinghouse. And the idea is that we have all that legacy from Bertha into our system and on LMS system. We do a lot of digitalization and products for our customers. One of the digitalization softwares that we sell to our customers is called CMIs. It's the Configuration Management Interface Systems. It's part of a platform that we call OptiLife digital platform. It helps simply to understand better how to operate a nuclear power plant. And now what we are doing is that we empower all our digital tools with a layer of Bertha, so it's much easier to interact with the data that they are having from the platform. So this is something that we are preparing. It is the best, easiest way for us right now to interact and deploy and scale up the AI with the products that they are already digital, because we already have agreements with the customer in how to handle the data, what is secure, what is not. So it is the fastest way for us. But of course, this open a lot of use cases when they start learning more about the data and how to use it. We have trusted nuclear engineers and plant license experts that are behind these systems. They are the ones that actually make all the analysis and the final decisions. And we have improved some productivity, creating plant design modifications, engineering analysis, and as I was mentioning previously, on the licensing documentation. Basically, it's how we embedded Westinghouse knowledge into the digital tools that we have, so our customer can have better output and a better operability on their reactors. Thank you so much. And there. Thank you.
All right, how awesome was that? Let's give it up one more time for Lou. So here at Databricks, one of the things, 6 years when I started, one of the most common catchphrases that we still live by today is helping our customers solve the world's toughest problems. What we just heard from Westinghouse isn't just tackling the world's most complex problems, it's setting up generations and generations to come to be able to live in a healthy, broader, more scalable world. So thank you, Lou. Thank you to the entire Westinghouse team. It's been a phenomenal partnership. All right, so up next, we've got Nick here joining us from Southern Company. Again, maintaining the same common theme of modernizing the critical infrastructure and how we service and support internal as well as your external customers. We're going to have Nick Whatley take it away.
Awesome. So, hey, everybody, great to be here. I am Nick Whatley, as Amar mentioned. I'm pinch hitting here a little bit. Shane Powell, my colleague, needed to get home early, and so these are some of the things he works on a day-to-day basis. But I've been close to this and really have seen the impact of it, and honestly have had a lot of inspiration from what Shane and some of our power delivery experts at Southern Company have been building over the past 5 or 6 years. So excited to share it. Quick bio, that's me. I work as the Director of Enterprise Data and Customer Analytics. I get to partner with Shane and the PD team a lot. Real quick about Southern Company. If you don't know Southern Company, we own electric utility companies, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi Power. We also own gas LDCs, over 9 million customers, one of the largest utilities in the United States. So today we're going to go on a little bit of a journey, and I'm going to talk through really different aspects of where Southern's been, where we are kind of right now, current state, and really where we're going to go. But the main thing from this slide, and I'm going to blow through a lot of slides today, so just kind of take them all in, absorb them. If you're like me, kind of a processor, don't get too distracted by what you see, but more about what you hear. Is whenever we're looking at data and analytics, and it could be in the generation space where we're making electrons, it could be in the move space, which we're kind of focused on today, or the serving space, which is where I spend the bulk of my time. We focus on affordability, our satisfaction and the value we're providing to our customers, reliability, and then most importantly, safety. So that's kind of the lens that we bring to all of these discussions. And we've got a really, really forward-thinking CEO at Southern, Chris Womack, and he has this phrase that is really, it is like spread like wildfire, and that's data out of the box. And if you've worked in the utility industry or some of these highly regulated industries, one thing you see is you get a ton of siloed data, you get a ton of different ways to do things, a little bit of risk aversion at times. And so data out of the box to us at Southern Company is treat data as an asset, turn it into insights, and then act upon it. Cloud is huge for us, right? Databricks is a huge partner. I'll go into that in more detail throughout this presentation. Another aspect of our journey really has been around dynamic data insights, not just a report and not just something that's, how did we do, a retrospective of sorts. It's really creating as close to real-time insights so that we can better serve our customers, better operate our system, and then do it in a safe and affordable way. The last thing that we will really focus on, and there's a ton of technical terminology, and there is a ton of data strategy and operating model, and I've sat through and worked on those a lot over my career, but one thing is user-friendly tools, something that somebody is going to pick up and use where they operate. It could be a laptop, it could be a Toughbook if they're out in the field, it could be their phone. You've got to meet them where they are. And all that together really drives towards kind of the far right on this slide, which is, hey, we want to impact wallet share positively. We want to make that a great experience with our customers. We want to make sure that we are there when our customers need us in a reliable fashion, and that we have a safe, secure system. So when we think about the process, when we get to a new data problem, we normally source those from the people that are closest to it, right? In the customer space, it could be a CSR. In the PD space, a lot of times it's a reliability engineer, distribution engineer that is out there in the field, kind of living and breathing, that part of the vertically integrated utility world. So one, understand the data. We really have to understand what we're dealing with, the quality of it, where it lives, what kind of system it is, the latency of it. We also have to have a plan and an understanding, like where should we prioritize? There are hundreds, thousands, millions of things we could be focused on, but we really have to figure out where we're going to get the best bang for our buck, focus on an ROI, and then ultimately make sure that the business partners that are going to be receiving that tool or that insight are going to use it. They're going to leverage it to make different decisions they would if they didn't have it. And then lastly, we want to be action-oriented. In lots of big corporations, other company has 28,000 employees across a lot of business units, a lot of operating companies. You can really get bogged down in overly governing, over-approving, doing these things, but we want to move with agility and we want to take action. And the main thing we want to do too, while we're developing these processes, we want to look at what we have, and we want to say, hey, what is success going to look like? We want to kind of inspire that vision, but we want to measure it, and we want to follow up on that, continuously iterate. So I like to say that there's never been a better time to be in the utility world and work in data analytics, but honestly, there's never been a time where there's so much change, right? I think Ali hit on it in the keynote this morning about like, how do you keep up with all this stuff, right? That is one of the things that we've really got to focus on, and Databricks as a partner has been a tremendous kind of inspiration for us, but it hadn't always been that way. So before we went down this path of our data lakehouse infrastructure that I'll kind of get into, everything was really done very locally. And I don't even mean in a state or a jurisdiction where we're regulated. It was done down to what we call operating centers, regions, divisions, micro-level ways of doing things. And if we had 6 different divisions, we did it 6 different ways. As we started to look kind of more broadly and said, hey, we could probably do that a little more efficiently if we had some ideas of where the opportunities are, and maybe if we did it one way and showed value and deployed it to the other and brought people along slowly. And so that started our PD data analytics team on a journey, and that started with data. Like we had to figure out, one, identify where all that data is. And you'll see a different subset. We've kind of got outage data, you've got your meter data, vegetation management or VM, our financials, and then all of the assets, every pole, wire, transformer, substation. All that lived all over the place. And so if we really wanted to take data out of the box and deploy it and create insights, we had to jump through and really think about, where do we want to go? And we had to find a partner. And thankfully for us, we had a fantastic enterprise architect, Greg Floyd. He kind of had the vision, and he actually saw the opportunity for us to partner with Databricks. Probably 7 years ago, I think, was the first kind of our usage of Databricks. And he set us on like a course for success. And I'll show you all a graph in a little bit that shows where we are right now and really where we've been. But you can see the proliferation of data lakehouses, and how as we stack use cases, it gets more and more valuable. So one of the things that I hit on earlier was siloed data. And I heard that this morning. I think I heard it from Lou. Like, that is a big problem in corporate America and in all over the world, really, is they just live in different types of systems. And so if we could get to this unified platform and we could get towards data democratization, we really knew that we had a chance to make a much outsized impact from what we were going to do in kind of our current construct. So from 2019 down into 2025, we kind of evolved. And all those siloed systems on the left, they moved to the right. And we've started building these data insights products as a company. And that's what we're going to spend a good bit of time on the back half of this deck, is really some of those tools, what they look like, kind of what they do, who are the users of them. But most of the things we needed to do started with that data foundation. That was critical. And we're still in that evolution. In the customer space, we're in the thick of it right now. We're modernizing some of our platforms and our tools. And we know that if we want that power delivery data, and we want that financial data, and we want our generation data to be most impactful, the whole customer 360 view's got to be there. So when Shane and team started working on this journey, I actually got to be involved in some of the power delivery data strategy back in 2019, and to see how far they've come and really how it hadn't been a linear path, but how it's been an accelerated journey once they hit certain key milestones, and getting data out of the box and getting it into Databricks was definitely one of them. It's enabled the rapid acceleration of these use cases. And they might have started with 5 key things they wanted our reliability tool, which we call RAMP, to do, or SPEAR, our storm prediction tool, to do. But over time, those have grown to do dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of things, and create insights that are really driving data-driven decisions for executives down to our individual contributors at Southern and across the whole enterprise. So one thing that I do want to hit on, and this is kind of a broader perspective here, is kind of how we do the work. We do have deep partner relationships. Little logo in the bottom right, eSource has been one of our key partners in developing some of these products. So the other part I've hit on with cloud, one team mindset, kind of leading as a system is one thing we call it internally. That's bringing together that it's not an Alabama thing, a Georgia thing, a gas thing, an electric thing. It is, we are all part of one team, and if we work together, we're going to be better together. And then lastly, I hit on it earlier, but I do want to emphasize, an agile approach has been really game-changing for us at Southern. Traditional kind of waterfall, bureaucracy, slow-moving, risk-averse, that is not what we're doing here. In this space, we are rapidly iterating, we're running at 2-week sprints, and we're making changes real time based on the user feedback we're getting in these platforms. So the real thing to think about with kind of the cloud for us was, when we said, why do we want to do it? Well, one, we got really comfortable, thanks to Greg and our architecture and standards team, with the security. Cloud had been a boogeyman for us for years, honestly. I mean, and at times, it still can be when we start talking about certain data elements. But in the power delivery world, they got the right people bought in. They were very intentional with how they communicated and with whom they communicated to bring them along in the journey. They didn't go do it and say, surprise, here it is. And so the security of the cloud and Databricks, Unity Catalog is just an asset to us. I mean, I don't know how we would even operate day to day without UC enabled on some of these workspaces, because I actually have one currently where it's not, and kind of one of our first things we did with Databricks. And it has just allowed so much more data-driven insights and really visibility up and down the chain through the lineage tracking and things like that. But the broader view for us is actually really interesting, and it's kind of to take a step back. And we've got 5 of our lake houses shown here, and we've got a bunch of products around there. But this is actually blown up. So the customer world is where I live a lot. It sits actually on this diagram strategically next to power delivery, because power delivery includes metering. Well, customers are the ones generating those electrons and the kilowatt hour consumption, every day for us. And gas has been in this journey for a while, our unregulated subsidiary, Southern Power. And really what we've seen is the power of this data in the one kind of copy. It's there. We promote it from a lot of operational on-prem systems, which made me really excited this morning about some of the announcements, was really that, hey, once this data is there, we're not copying it. We're Delta sharing it across environments. We're making it available where we need it, when we need it. And we can also, through UC, govern and manage who has access to what and who needs access to what. So this is kind of the initial footprint. But since that time, we've actually been on this longer journey over to just kind of data out of the box for all of Southern. And that PD Lake House is the delineation point. Gas was on kind of a prior version in 19. But we've accelerated over the past 5 years tremendously. And some of these things I just never would have thought we would have gotten there necessarily. I mean, particularly some of the HR stuff, some of the financial stuff. And as Databricks has matured, I felt us mature with them. And honestly, the more features we get, it's one thing to stand up the environment, but then you got to get the data there. We've got to get our ingestion patterns down. We've got to get really the governance and the security aspects of it down. But the new features that we're seeing have been driving the productization of some of the tools that we're going to talk about here in the second half. And so really when we think about kind of what we do in Databricks and what we do in the cloud, there's kind of more baseline reporting and traditional data analytics. There's Gen AI, there is dashboarding components, but there's also machine learning. There's AI, BI, Genie. We're Delta sharing data to certain partners, approved partners. And then more and more, app integration. And even today, heard more about possibilities with, kind of building Databricks apps on top of some of the stuff we're already doing. But different parts of the enterprise are at different levels, right? You see a lot of checks for data analytics reporting, right? Like that's kind of an easy thing that we've done. But overall, as somebody goes and proves this out and really power delivery, checks all the boxes there, well, they kind of take that to my team, they take it to some of our generation team members, and they share, and they're bringing everybody else along with them. So when we talk about products for Southern Company and data and insights products, Spear is one of the coolest ones. Down in the southeast, we get a lot of hurricanes, we get a lot of tornadoes. When we get cold weather, it actually has really pretty significant outage impacts. And so our storm prediction tool, Spear, has been like a godsend for us. And in fact, this past weekend, quick story, I was at this event, I was getting texts from my mom and dad, their power was out. I mean, I pulled up Spear, I logged in, I could see kind of what they were dealing with in and around their actual neighborhood. I could link into our outage management system right there from the tool. And I could say, hey, this is what it looks like. This is the current, prediction that you're getting through a text or whatever, but behind the scenes is what I can see. And I could envision a future where we start to deploy some of these insights that are currently employee-facing and team member-facing out to customers. I think there's true value in making sure our customers have, information at their fingertips. So Spear, I'll hit on two of the big things that I really like about Spear. One is ahead of the storm. I'll use power delivery team leaders and the GMs at Alabama Power as an example. Ahead of a storm, could be a hurricane that's brewing in the Gulf. It could be, hey, we're going to have some level 5 kind of thunderstorm and tornadoes coming. Well, what are we seeing? They're actually using Spear in their kind of planning sessions for resources, right? Where do we need them staged? How many do we need? And so that's cost savings, right? If we can get that dialed in to the right number, and we're not, over planning just to be safe, right? If we can really hone in and save 5 and 10% on the resources that we're calling out to do that, bringing them away from their families, there's employee satisfaction angles there. This has tons of value. And so the interesting change management angle on Spear has been, for years, we partnered with some companies, and we still do, and do comparisons, but Spear, time and time again, is way outperforming our old ways of doing this. And as they've proven that out, Shane, the PD team, are taking this tool, and it started at Alabama Power, but it's being deployed in Georgia and Mississippi now. So you're seeing that kind of product mindset. We're bringing people along, right? We're also kind of proof is in the pudding. They're seeing it real life. And you can see the little visual right there, right? That's a tablet and then a phone. All of the tools that we're going to talk about, Spear and Ramp, are mobile native, single sign-on enabled. You just, you pull it up, you enter your SOCO credentials, and you can log in and get that information. You could be at the dinner table like I was last weekend. You could be at your desk with all your huge, monitors going. But these tools are there, and they meet the end user, the employees that are depending upon them where they are. So I'm going to shift gears real quick and talk about just the impact on reliability real quick. The time to action, safety, those clear metrics I was talking about, those are some of the key easy things. And Power Delivery does great with metrics, I think. They have clearly defined goals and metrics. In the customer space, we'll say like CSAT or maybe JD Power at times, the stuff we look at, but they've got these clear North Star visions of the duration of the outages, the frequency of the outages, the continuous minutes interrupted, and ultimately that has been the way that they've been able to communicate success. And the other tool that I'm going to talk about, and Spear has an impact here too, is really kind of the scoreboard for it, and that's Ramp. So when you think about reliability, that's kind of what Ramp is. That's what the R is. A couple of things. One, all that data that we showed earlier in these disparate systems all over the place, some Oracle databases, some legacy operational databases, some in Access databases even, I think, before they got a hold of them. They had to get that foundation set. And they started with their senior vice president, our power delivery leader at Alabama Power, and said, hey, what do you need to see? He's like, I want these things. And I don't want them, changing on me. I don't want optionality. I just want to see these 5 numbers or whatever it was. Well, now, if you go into this app today, and you can see it a little bit, and I'll flash up a little kind of little demo video real quick. It's proliferated into a huge number of metrics and things that you can get to. And it's kind of fit for purpose, right? Depending on the role you're in, you're going to a different tab or a location, and you're consuming different insights because you care about maybe a specific geographic location or a specific granular metric that ultimately drives up to these top-line metrics that our executives want to look at. We process this nightly, so the next day, really just a few hours lag, you're getting kind of what happened. We're working towards getting that near real time, and then ultimately one day maybe real time. But the cool part here, and I don't even think it's the most impactful part, is something called Reliability AI, or RAY. That's something that the team has worked on for quite a while, and they've started to deploy it. I know I've played around with it in UA, but that's natural language. It's an AI BI Genie tool that lands in the app. You just go in, you don't even know Databricks is behind the scenes if you're a user, and you can go in and ask natural language questions about reliability metrics. And that to us is, that's kind of the evolution, right? I talked about data foundation, I talked about more data analytics and reporting. Well, now we're sprinkling in AI on top of it. And that to me is kind of the journey we want to sell about why we want to invest more here, why we want to continue to leverage these partnerships, is ultimately so that we can get to AI, right? Like AI is not the starting point, it's a part of a journey that we've got to be on. And ultimately there's a couple of things that really RAMP drives us towards. All right, so the on-demand data is huge, right? Like getting all that data in one place is no small feat. It took a lot of intentional effort and years of people driving a vision forward. And what used to take our analysts and some of our engineers, really days and weeks to even just report out on a metric that was maybe something that we had to report out to a regulatory body, now is down to minutes. And so there's time savings there. There's really just trust in the metric that it's right, it's done a certain way, it's standardized. But there's also the ability to go in and dive in and figure out what's going on with customers. And I'll do a quick story, and then I'll kind of land the plane here. RAMP has been a great tool, but the best example of how it could be used for a customer is we get a lot of social media inquiries about people just tagging one of the companies. Hey, I've got this problem. My power is always out, or hey, when's it going to be back on? And so we have pretty robust social media monitoring tools and teams. And one of those, I'd say, a little bit of a frustrated customer made its way to Shane, the power delivery team, and they got a hold of it, and they were like, I think the customer didn't say who they were, where they were. I think they gave a partial street address is actually what they put it out there, on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. And ultimately, they were able to go into RAMP, quickly find it, pull it up, get the full outage history, 10 years of outage history in, less than a second, and go back to the social media team and be like, this customer's right. They're out all the time. And it looks like sometimes it's squirrels, sometimes it's VM, just, growth. But ultimately, they were able to give the team insights to communicate back to the customer and say, we heard you, you are right, you are out a lot. And then the best part was they took action and they went and did work there that has since improved that customer's reliability. So that to me is one indication. And I can, that's a little bit of manual intervention and some things going on there. But ultimately, one day there will be a time where we automate all that. It'll be kind of an agentic workflow. And we, human might be in the loop of awareness, but they're not going to have to be sitting there sending emails and typing out direct messages to our customers. So I'll land with this, and I want to talk through really just this kind of tool. So as you see, kind of the red parts are areas that are less reliable. There's other parts that are a little more, maybe they're just not as densely forested or whatever. But this tool, and I used it before I was even working on this and alongside Shane closely. I'd text him and ask him questions, and he was going and looking them up here. And Jesse Woods, who also worked on the team at the time, he finally told me, he was like, hey, well, why don't you just get access? Just get access to the tool. You can have it. Go request access through our governance process. So I got access, and I was shocked. I was actually, I had just bought a house, and I was like, I didn't know really much about the reliability of the house or whatever. But I went and clicked the meter, and I could see those 10 years of outage history. I could see that actually the reliability wasn't very good at that house. And then I went to another part. You can see it kind of on the left. It's worst performing feeder. And I saw that we were one of the worst performing feeders in the system. And then as we had more outages, I saw us go up our prioritization for capital investment and even some tree trimming. And as we did that, I saw the tree trimmers out there. And that story and that experience as an employee was great. But I thought, what about our customers? If they knew that we were prioritizing how we do this with data and insights, they might value the service that we're providing. They might even be more excited when they see those tree trimming crews come, because they equate that not with you're cutting down my favorite willow tree, they might say, oh my God, my lights are going to be out less. I'm going to have better reliability. So I think with all these things, and I'll kind of stop here, we've really got to keep the customer at the center of everything we do. We've got to make sure that as we deploy insights internally, that they're going to be used, that we're making better and different decisions because of them. And ultimately, if we can take a little bit of those viewpoints, drive them into the technical requirements and all the fun data stuff that we get to work on day to day, we're going to have a better satisfied customer. We're going to drive affordability, safety, and reliability for them. So thanks, y'all. Appreciate the time.